Okay, hello internet. This will be the third video of the series about Anycubic 3D printer, Kobra S1. And in this video I will replace the motherboard of the printer. Yesterday I received the package with the motherboard, and what I had in the package was this box with the motherboard, and also in the back this cable. So I'm wondering why they are sending me this cable. So if you see on the Anycubic wiki, the motherboard have 7 connectors here, so 7 cables connected to the motherboard. And the question is why they are sending me exactly this cable. So I'm thinking, can it be that in the walks that I send them, they are thinking that the problem might be the motherboard itself or the cable. Anyways, I'm going to replace both. So let's start by turning off the printer. And now, because I want to also replace this cable, we'll have to disassemble the rear side of the printer again. Yeah, it's annoying because there are like 20 screws there, but I will do that. And while I'm doing that, I will tell you something that is bothering me the entire time I'm doing that thing. So let's start with the motherboard cover. There should be 2 screws, one here in the front of the cover. So sure, I think that's not the proper size. Maybe this one. Yeah. So yesterday, after I replaced the hotbed, there is one hidden screw here also, so you have to touch it to see where it is. So yesterday I was able to finish 3 successful prints, and they were not that small. I mean, one of the prints were an object that's like 20 by 10 by 10 centimeters. It was 3.5-hour print, and right after that another one that was 2.5-hour print, and after that another one that was like 1.5 hours. So combined around maybe 8 hours of printing and no errors. However, so be careful with this cable. This is the Wi-Fi antenna, so you just pull it gently down and it will come off. So what I'm thinking is why I'm able to finish an 8-hour combined of printing without any errors, but when I try to print my box that I want to print, that is 15 hours of printing, I get that error on random occasions, like in the 1st hour or in the 3rd hour or in the 6th hour. Okay, so this is the motherboard, and this cable that we also have to replace goes on the back side. So yeah, we'll have to disassemble the back also. So I'm wondering why I cannot print my box, but I can print a combined 8-hour print of printing yesterday. Of course, at some point I thought that it might be the model itself. It's nothing special, it's just a box with a couple of ventilation holes and cable holes. Nothing too fancy, no weird shapes, just a square box. But of course, at some point I thought that it might be the model itself, so I rebuilt it completely, just to make sure there is nothing weird. And after I rebuilt it, I had the same issues. So it's not the model, and it's just bothering me why I can print one thing and not that one. And the fact that I get the errors on random points during the print tells me that there is nothing with the model itself. So the more I think about it, the more I try to think of something that's different between these prints. And one thing came to my mind. So the successful prints yesterday were made with PLA. So when I print PLA, I keep the top lid open and the door open of the printer, because the material have to cool down. And when I tried to print my box, because I want it to be stronger, I tried with ABS, I tried with ASA, I tried with PCTG, and basically all these materials require the printer to be completely enclosed. So for example, with ABS we have the build plate temperature set to 100 degrees, and then we had the hot end to 250 degrees, and we can imagine after like 3 or 6 hours in this enclosed chamber what will be the temperature. And also the motors for the axis are also getting hot. They are inside here in the chamber, and the motherboard is sitting right here on the top of the printer, and there is just a plastic cover underneath, so all the temperature is coming to the upper side of the printer. And the only thing that makes sense to me at this point is an overheating issue. So I will replace the motherboard and the cable, but if I still have that error after I replace this, I will probably drill a ventilation hose on the side of the printer and probably on the top of the printer, and I will seal the motherboard compartment with copper tape. And I don't know, maybe I can put a fan on the outside here so it can take the heat out of the motherboard compartment. Because the more I think about that issue, the more it makes sense to be an overheating issue. But let's first trust the Anycubic support and replace the motherboard, because might be that I'm wrong. Okay, see you when I remove all this stuff. Okay, so I have the backside removed. I also had that piece removed, and this is the cable that I want to replace. It is held by a glue here, so we have to somehow remove that glue in order to disconnect it. I'm not sure if it's visible on the camera, but basically there is a red, okay, here it is, the red glue, and now we should be able to just, okay, pull it out. So you can see that they had one fan here for the power supply, one here for the chamber, on the other side is the carbon filter, but the motherboard is up there and there is nothing to cool down the motherboard. So the more I think about it, the more I convince myself that there is an overheating issue with that printer. So I will try to route out this cable, and then I will disconnect the connectors of the motherboard and remove it. See you then. Okay, so I tried to take out this cable, but it's not possible if we do not remove the side cover of the printer. So one option is to keep the cable and just replace the motherboard. Another option is to remove the side of the printer, and I think it will be a good experience to remove it and see what's going on there, because I'm pretty sure I will have to make a ventilation hose for the motherboard at some point. You know, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense that this is overheating of the motherboard. Okay, so we have to remove these screws on the top. We already removed the screws on the side, on the back side, and we should be able to slide it out, or probably we have more screws on the bottom of the printer. So let me turn it on that side. Be careful with that part, because it's just hanging here on the cables. Yep, 4 screws underneath. now we should be able to slide it this way. Or no, it was not sliding, but there are like clips here and probably up there. Oh, here we go. So we have the bottom side out, and now let's also have the top side out. Yep, just like that. And it's plastic. I thought it's aluminum, but no, it's plastic. But the frame here is, it should be aluminum. So be careful with this fan cable, and this is the cable that I want to remove, and it goes up here. Okay, it goes through this. Okay, that's metal, that should be metal. So that's quite thick. So if I want to make ventilation holes, I will have to drill this plastic for sure. That's the easy part, and I don't know, maybe some here on the top, but that's pretty thick, and we'll see. Let's first get out this cable. So it's this one. I can get my pliers. It's this cable. Just take it out. Okay. And we should be able to take the connector out. Yeah. From here, like that, and then here on top we have another holder that I cannot see very clear. Let me try with the flashlight. So this is the cable, and here is the cable holder, and I just can't see what is going on here. Oh, so it is just a thing that comes down like a clip, so I have to push it down from that side. So you definitely have to remove the side cover if you want to replace that thing. So basically, yeah, and now you should be able to remove that cable. Okay, that's done. Okay, so now we have to remove the motherboard itself. It has a bunch of connectors and two bolts. So let me try to turn the printer. And I should also try to remember where the connectors go. I think they're all different, but two of the connectors are the same, I think, for the motors. So if we don't want to revert the X and Y axis, we have to remember which one is getting where. So as you can see here, basically, oh no, that's the USB. Okay, so the USB is the shorter, goes here, okay. We have that cable out. Now let's disconnect these connectors and this one and this one. Okay, now I have this cable already disconnected on the other side. All the other connectors are on that side. So let's remove the motherboard if we find the proper tool. And when you're disconnecting the display connector, there is like a latch that you have to pull up, and there is a Kapton tape on top of it. So first remove that Kapton tape, and you can keep it and reuse it later, or if you already have a Kapton tape, and I have here, you can just scrap it. So let's disconnect that display. So you just, and this is the white part is the connector, and the brown or the black part is the latch that you have to pull down from this perspective, and I broke it. Anyways, I'm replacing this part anyway, and okay, that's the ribbon cable. And now we should unscrew this screw. This bolt is a pain in the backside. It's on a very odd place. Okay, I have it out. Okay, so now disconnect these three connectors. So this one, I'm not sure what it is for, but maybe, I don't know, it's just two cables, so probably fan connector. Man, that glue is really strong. That's really strong glue, and the first thing they advise you when you have this issue is to check the connectors. So, how can that connector become loose? I don't know. Look at that. And that is the USB port. Okay. Jesus. And we have another connector here that's not sure what it is about. Maybe the motor. Okay, so this cable is next to this one, then the USB, then this probably fan connector, and then the display connector. Let me see, where is that plastic part? Not sure. Oh, here it is. So I should have probably, instead of just pulling up, I should have probably pulled it out and then up. But we'll see on the other connector. And make sure we don't break that. Okay. So this is the new motherboard. And here is the connector. So how that works. Oh, here we go. So it's just up and down. So why the other one broke I have no idea. Anyways, let's first connect this one, and if we compare that cable with that cable, yeah, that should go here. And I'm wondering, should I put some hot glue on this connector just to make sure it's not coming out? Probably I should, so let's do that. So that one says NF031 upper 2.1 version 2.1, and this is exactly the same. So except that on these pins here, and I think, yeah, that's debug pins for the serial communication, RX, TX, and ground. And on this there is no solder on these pins, but there are solders on these pins. So I'm wondering if they tested something, or that's a used part. No, actually this is the original one, and the original one has solder here, and it looks like it has some kind of residue here. And on the new part, these are clean. It has some marking here, which probably means that it went through the some kind of QA-ing. It has similar marking here on different place. But yeah, that's exactly the same board, same versions, no upgrades, no downgrades. Let me see if I have that. Oh, look at that. I need a new hot gun. I will put one point here, just a little bit up here. Come on, work with me. Is it hot? Kind of. Okay. So 1 point here, 1 point up here. And just some here. That should be enough. Not that there is any movement up there, but just in case. Okay, so now let's put that back. So I will first insert that ribbon cable and hopefully not destroying that connector. Okay, let me make some space from that side. Or I can use the tweezers and just now it's in. Okay, that should be good. And now I hate to say that, but probably I should have put glasses. Okay, so this connector here and this connector here. Maybe should be like that. Yeah. And that fan connector or something is the only one that's wobbling a little bit, so maybe I should put some hot glue. Black. Okay. Let me just cool down these things. Okay. Let me cool down myself also. Okay, so now let's fix that motherboard there. board is fixed, and let's put some Kapton tape to secure that display connector, and I don't think it's needed, but well, it had some, so should be good enough. Okay, so now that cable should go on the other side like that. Then we need to connect this one and that one. Now let's route this cable back to the rear side. So that small hole on the on the bottom. Okay, so now it is where it is supposed to be. Okay, so let's put that cables in. Okay. Whew. And now, so I keep thinking about ventilation because I'm pretty sure this is the issue. But anyways, let's focus on that right now. So I will not tighten the screws yet. Okay. So we have this piece here that has to go into the front side. Okay. And now what I want to do is connect all the connectors, and before I assemble the printer I want to just turn it on and make sure that it's working. Okay, that one is in. So let's connect it to the power supply and just turn it on and see if everything is working. I hope that it won't blow up. Yep, we have a display, and come on, Come on. Nice. Okay. Turn it back off. Remove the power supply and the power cable, not the power supply. I hope I won't have to remove that. And let's assemble the printer back and see the result of these efforts. See you when everything is done. Okay, so everything is assembled, everything is connected on the back, and let's turn it on. So we already tried it, it's booted, and because it's a brand new motherboard, I will have to go through the initial process when you buy the printer for calibrating the printer, connect it to your account, and things like that. So I will do that, and when I'm done I will start a new print for that box and see if it will print this time or I will have that error again. And eventually, if I have that error again, I will try to work out some ventilation for the motherboard and see if that helps. Okay, see you when I have the results. Okay guys, so one day later, yesterday I replaced the motherboard and the cable that Anycubic sold me, and I started a small print, a 3-hour print with POA. Printer opened the top lid and the door. It finished successfully, and after that I started the main print that I want to print the box. I changed the filament to PCTG. I started the print. Printer unclosed because that's how you are supposed to print that material. And 4 hours later, 4.5 hours later, the same error, 104.13. So with UART and the new motherboard, the same behavior. Obviously the problem is not the motherboard, and because I have no other ideas what might be the problem with this printer, the only thing that I can think of right now is the overheating issue. So in order to confirm that, I will put a POA in the Ace Pro and I will start the same print with POA and the printer enclosure open. Hey guys, so small update. Yesterday I started a new print with POA, all the printer doors opened, and I still get 104.14 error. So, however, I have this time I have the error after 10 hours of printing. So the print started at 8 AM, the error is at 6 PM. So that still fits the overheating theory that I have. Just when the compartment is open, it takes more time to overheat. And yeah, so what I will do next, basically the question now is which part exactly is overheating. Obviously the main suspect is the motherboard because it's inside the printing area that gets hot, but also it might be the driver board that's next to the power supply unit, and it might be the print head also. So let's attack the issue systematically. First, I have found a bracket because the the fan on the driver board is just hanging there. Basically, nothing is channeling the airflow. So I have found a bracket that channels the airflow, and I will print that bracket and I will put it there. Then I will start a new print, and during that new print I will measure the temperature here in the motherboard compartment to see what temperatures we get in there. I suspect that it won't be healthy, but just to see what is going on in there before we do anything else. So I will print it with enclosed printer, probably with PCTG, and I'm expecting to have the error in like 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, something like that. So I will measure the temperatures during the print and see what's going on there. And meanwhile, I contacted the Anycubic support. I told them that the motherboard replacement didn't help and I still got this error. And this time they are sending me the print headboard, this time for free. But yeah, we'll see what's going on. Eventually I will make a fourth video about replacing the print headboard if nothing else helps. But yeah, that might also be the issue because this error 104.14 basically is not very specific, but it is about disconnection between the motherboard and some other parts of the printer, basically losing connection, and the only moving part is the print head. So that might be a problem there. But my main suspect is overheating, and of course the print head can also overheat. And when you raise the temperatures, all the wires are increasing their resistance, so that also might cause such errors. But yeah, let's be systematic. Start with that fan on the driver board, measure the temperatures on the main board, eventually organizing some kind of cooling here in that corner of the printer, and see what helps, if anything helps. Okay, see you then. Hey guys, just a quick update. After multiple errors and restarts and resuming of the prints, I'm also able to finish that box. So if you can see here, these artifacts are basically the lines that mark the resuming of the print. So this big one here is the resuming after the first 10 hours of printing. Then this line is the second error after around 2.5 hours after resuming. Then another one here after around hour and a half, and then another one here after around half an hour or 40 minutes of printing. So the frequency of the errors increase with time, and I'm not really sure how that fits in my overheating theory. So anyways, I will try to add that driver board fan bracket, and I will measure the temperature up there at the motherboard. Probably I will add 2 heat sinks on the motherboard chips and test again. See you. Hey guys, so I went a little bit crazy here. So what I did is, this is my old motherboard that I replaced. So I hooked it up to the printer, and I saw that here we have a serial port exposed. So I connected my UART device to that serial port, and I was able to connect to the Linux system that is installed on that device. And because when I first had the 104.14 error, Anycubic asked me to generate walks from the device and send it over to them. So I did that, but here are the two archives with the walks. But if you try to open the archive, you can see that these files are password protected, and I asked them for the password and they refused to give it to me, basically. And they also refused to give me a way to generate these walks without password. So I tried to brute force the password for 3 weeks and I was not able to, so the password is obviously complex. So what I want to do is, I want to find, if possible, the password on the file system, or at least the rules that are used to generate the password if it is dynamic. And I want to archive these walks and examine them by myself. So yeah, right now I archived the file system here. You can see the rootfs file system, and I want to basically transfer the file to my computer, transfer the archive to my computer, and examine everything that's on the file system, and potentially try to find the archive password for the walks or anything else interesting. For example, if I can find more details on that 104.14 error. So yeah, stay tuned, that will be interesting. Okay guys, so this is going into a rabbit hole. As you can see, I disassembled half of the printer, because what happened is, basically following my overheating theory, I added a fan bracket here for the driver board. I added a fan here for the main board, for the motherboard. I created a compartment to isolate this corner of the printer. I drilled the holes here for the ventilation, and basically I measured the temperature during the print. And first, before these changes, The motherboard compartment went up to 60 degrees after hour and a half print, and that's quite healthy temperature, but it's on the high side. So I kept it low with these changes in the fan. I kept it low to 30 degrees, 40 degrees, and that didn't solve the issues. So I decided that in order to proceed and find out what's going on, I have to take a look at the walks that I sent to Anycubic. As I mentioned, they're password protected, and Anycubic is refusing to give the password. So I was trying to brute force it for 3 weeks. It didn't work. So I decided to basically put it all in and try to find the password. So I powered on my old motherboard. I soldered the connections to the serial connector here. I connected it to my computer. I was able to log into the Linux from my serial terminal, and I was able to extract the entire file system from the memory. So what happened next, I found the password. I will share it with you guys in the next video. I have found the password. I was able to unzip the walk files and the config files that are exported after the error, and basically I analyzed the walks with help from ChatGPT, and what is visible in the walks is that most probably the nozzle heating element stayed on for too long, for the threshold longer than the threshold that is set in the software. So there is no particular config about the threshold, but according to ChatGPT it's 60 seconds. So the walks suggest that the heating element of the nozzle stayed for longer than these 60 seconds, and that's what's triggering the error. So I'm done here. I will assemble the printer. I will end this video here because it's not an overheating issue, and I think I learned a lot, and I hope you too. And as you can see on my new motherboard, I added a couple of heat sinks on the chips. I also soldered connectors to the serial port of my new motherboard, and I will expose them on the outside of the printer so I can hook up and basically have access to my printer operating system. And I will create a next video, a fourth part, where basically I will start a new print here. I will wait for the error. I will generate walks again, examine them and see if the error is the same and if that confirms, and I will see if the problem is with these nozzles. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure when the error came first, after I replaced the nozzle or with the original one, but basically I will try with the original one to see if I have the same error again. And yeah, all this in the next video. So this video ends here. stay tuned for the next one.